invite Eunice Mwende, their interagency cash working group chair. She's a big star of this workshop. Eunice, if you would mind coming and enlighten us about the common cash approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marike. Good morning, everyone. Really nice to see a big team here. I want to welcome you once again on behalf of the Cash Working Group, the Uganda Cash Working Group. It's a big pleasure to have all of you here with us. I'll just have my mask down for ease of communication. So I'd like to thank the government representatives. I see here we have OPM, TRF, Mr. Solomon, thank you very much for being here. We have the Bank of Uganda. We have quite a number of people who are representing government, so you're very welcome, and it's a big pleasure for us to have you here. I also want to thank a very special team that I have been working with. This is the Common Cash Task Force team. I see a lot of them. You will be seeing them in various roles today. We have most of them being part of the panel, but we have been working towards really defining what a common cash task force is in Uganda. So this is really good. So I'm thinking about the UCC, WFP, UNHCR, CRS, UNCDF, and many others who will be partnering with us. I cannot forget to thank our donors, FCDO, who I see here, USAID and ECHO, who have continued to support cash responses in Uganda. The CWG partners, private sector who are here, ULAN and REACH, really grateful to work with all of you and all the online participants. I will go straight to my presentation, but just before that, I'd like to sample a few answers that we have received on the sample questions that you have on your table. It is asking about a South Sudanese refugee who is able to access cash using one single platform. And the question that was given to you was what aspects in the common cash of the above scenario are part of a common cash assistance. And just to pick a few questions, I think as a cash working group, we have overemphasized on financial literacy training. So a lot of the answers I see here are really based on financial literacy training, which is not a bad answer. However, I see an interesting answer here that says, you know, the fact that common cash assistance using a bank card through bank agents and use of mobile money as part of the common cash task force. And another person says, being able to use multiple actors providing cash assistance to some of the target groups and multiple registration for cash assistance. Very interesting answers. One of the key challenges that you in the audience have identified is that some of these platforms are not available in all the areas. And that's really going to come out of the presentation that I'm going to make right now. So keep the answers coming, and we shall keep the discussion flowing. So what is this common cash task force? Why are we discussing about a common cash approach? What does it really mean for us? What is it different? How does it present a different scenario from how we have been delivering cash? So the common cash approach is actually one of the key objectives of the Grand Bargain Caucus and cash coordination. This is at a global level, the forum that is coordinating implementation of cash. We have ECHO representing the donors, but we also have other UN agencies and organizations that are part of the technical experts. So this is one of the key objectives. And when we discuss about a common cash approach, we are contributing not only to the objectives of streamlining cash in Uganda, but the global objectives as well. In May 2020, we had a cash CAP coordinator who was leading the cash working group in Uganda, and he came up with what we call the approach paper for Uganda. And this is the basis for the discussion that we are going to have today. A lot of what was put there forms a foundation for the discussion that we are going to have today. So this is not a discussion in abstract. We are not making it up. It is actually a discussion that is in line and in tandem with what is going on globally and also in a regional scope. So what is it? What is different from what we have currently? The common cash approach is a collaborative and a multi-stakeholder approach of delivering cash. And it starts right from the needs assessment to the point of when we do monitoring. It is specifically oriented to the preferences of the refugees in Uganda. So in as much as we have other models of common cash approach in other countries, we are talking about a model that is very contextualized to Uganda. Right now, we don't have a common system. We don't have a common cash approach in Uganda. And because we have really tested different models, we want to agree here that in Uganda, there is no single perfect standalone operational model that will suit all the agencies. We cannot say, let's all do multi-purpose cash. Let's all do sectoral cash. Let us all use agency banking. Let us all use mobile money. There is no single operational model that is going to cut across and suit every operation in Uganda and make it efficient, effective, equitable, and sustainable. So we are talking about multiple models that are very harmonized and keep the needs of the refugees at the center of all the operations that we are doing. So I hope that if you don't remember anything, you remember that we are not promoting one single model. These are multiple models, harmonized, and that are going to really put the needs of the refugees at the center. Why? What is the objective that we want to get? At the moment, you will all agree with me, we are not able to fully realize the gains of cash responses in Uganda. We want to realize the full efficiency and effectiveness gains that could come out of our common cash approach. We also want to avoid parallel systems. I had an example recently when I went to Arua, when one of the beneficiaries asked, so suppose another bank comes and gives me a bank card to use, and yet another bank comes. Will I be working with 5 different ATM cards to go and collect my cash? You know? And what if there are multiple mobile money agents coming up? Will I really need to have 10 SIM cards for me to get cash assistance? So we are talking about avoiding parallel systems amongst us as CBA actors. We do not want to duplicate in any of the efforts that we are doing, be it targeting, be it in monitoring. And when we are talking about common cash approach, I would want to urge you not to just think about the FSB part. We are not talking about the procurement part. It is just a small component and a very significant component to that of the common cash approach. However, it is not the only one. There are many other components that would needed to form the common cash approach. So whatever we are talking about, we are looking at a simple, safe, and easily accessible model. So that it is not only simple for us as actors, but also simple and efficient to the beneficiary, to the vulnerable people that we are serving. And so we want to maximize the value of the assistance that they receive. The most important thing about this common cash approach that we are talking about is joint efforts, such as joint feasibility assessments, coordinating targeting of beneficiaries, joint post-distribution monitoring, and pursuing accountability of affected populations through agreed complaints and feedback mechanisms. You will agree with me that this is not the current status that we have in Uganda. Sitting at the cash working group, I sometimes have to ask partners, did you do a feasibility assessment for, say, Nakivale or Lubule? And it's all in piecemeal, done by different organizations. If we are to really achieve a common cash assistance approach, then this has to be a joint effort. Right from the time that we do needs assessment to the time that we do monitoring of the assistance that we are providing. Now, I feel like this is a very important slide. What is it not? What is not? It is not a one-size-fits-all. today, we are all going to move in one direction. No, we are going to take the different pieces that we have, and they have to be harmonized and well coordinated. And they also have to be contextualized. You will see later on when we will be walking around to look at the various infographics that, thankful to you, that they have put on the charts for us, that each of the context is very different. The context that you get in Nakibale might not be what you have in Bibidi, for example. And we are not going to cut and paste, not from the region, not from the global side. We are going to have a contextualized Uganda-specific model that is really going to work for us. So we are not going, for example, to say, let's have blockchain, because in Kenya, they did a blockchain program and it worked really well. Maybe it might not work for us here. So it's going to be, it's not a one size fits all for sure. It is not a platform. And I think it's very important for me to emphasize this. We are not saying WFP can do it. Could you please lead on the procurement process and have all the agencies that want to use mobile or bank agents go through WFP? I don't think they have that kind of muscle as yet. This is the vision that at one point we should all be able to tap into a process that has already been developed and make it very easy for us to, go and implement cash interventions. That platform is something that we have to do after we have been able to achieve quite a number of details. In other countries, this has been possible, but in Uganda, we are not there as yet. So we are not talking about a common platform. We are not talking about a system where one agency does the bulk of the work for all the other cash and voter assistant agencies. Not as yet. And I think it's very important for me to emphasize that in Uganda, we are not planning, as of today, to do joint procurement. This is an ideal. This is what other common cash approaches in other countries are doing, but this is not the case. We want to open the space for as many as financial service providers to be able to participate for now, and who knows, maybe in future, 5 years to come, it will be something that we can realize. We do not want to promote monopolies as a cash working group and as humanitarian actors. We want the FSPs to be able to put themselves in a position where they actually add value to the cash assistance process. And this could be cost-wise, this could be through innovative products that they come up with, this could be also tailored services specific to the refugees. And so, in as much as we have some FSPs that have already been able to take a lead in some of the processes, this process remains an open platform where the FSPs have an opportunity to really sell what is the value addition that they have to the refugee response. And as we have said in the previous slides, it is not a single model. I hope we are working together. These are multiple models, well coordinated and harmonized approaches. This is one of the infographics that I thought about that would really give us an idea about what we are talking about. As you know, this is something that we have to develop together. The humanitarian actors, the financial service providers, our donors and partners, and anyone who is involved in the CDA actors in Uganda. So we are talking about starting the step with multi-sectoral assessments. Right now, what we have is needs assessments that are scattered all over based on your specific program, and these are not well coordinated, and this is one of the key steps. When we do this, what we are going to establish is a database of vulnerable households. This database could actually be could be held as a platform by UNHCR or OPM, or an either of them to do that. Then we are looking at a common database of vulnerable households that is easy to access and easy to use, that promotes joint approaches, that has very clear data approach that would enable us to do joint targeting. It looks like a very far away vision, but this is where we are going to go this year. And if we are able to target and pilot this, even in 2 or 3 settlements, that's going to be a big success for us. We want to harmonize the delivery mechanisms. And so far, we have tried and tested a few of these mechanisms, and this is going to be something that we want to capitalize on. Whether it's mobile money, agency banking, direct cash transfers. And one of the key things that I want to mention now is that parts of this common cash approach are already happening right now. If you know, for example, in Adjumani, UNHCR opened some mobile money accounts for vulnerable households, and these mobile money accounts or SIM cards have been used by multiple agencies to transfer cash. WFP, using the agency banking, has opened numerous accounts for beneficiaries, and these accounts continue to be used by multiple agencies in cash transfer in Uganda. So we need to take also a toll on what's already happening, because it's not entirely new. Piggy banking is happening, and it could be even enhanced better when people really appreciate the need for us to go into a common cash approach. So when we got into a common cash approach, we're looking into joint monitoring so that we improve the efficiency in cash programming and, of course, get feedback from the beneficiaries on how they would want to get their cash and plow that back into the program. So in the hope that we are going to create innovative and effective cash programs that are going to have effective payments at scale. Our idea is not just to finish at cash, of course, but the whole discussion about contributing to resilience and self-sustenance by the refugees is a discussion that is beyond this particular workshop today. So what could challenge these portions? Why it's not taking place? What is it that would really make it difficult for us to have a common cash approach in Uganda? One of them, of course, is the siloed approach to cash programming. And this could lead to poor coordination, segmentation of cash-based interventions, and it's going to be very difficult if we are all going to be operating individually. So if we don't come together to work together, it's going to be very difficult for us to have a common cash approach. If refugees fail to meet the Know Your Customer, the KYC requirements, then it will really jeopardize the efforts that we're trying to achieve right now. The joint efforts of targeting FSPs being able to see refugees as a profitable population segment, and also the fact that monitoring and reporting to our donors is going to be very difficult. If humanitarian development stakeholders have a limited understanding of the benefits that could come out of this cash approach, this is going to be really difficult for us to understand. And it means that, for example, you have funds and you don't necessarily want to benefit from the very well negotiated transaction fees that organization X has been able to do. So we all need to appreciate that this is going to create efficiencies, and this is going to make us to be more efficient in our work. What are the success factors? What is it that we are going to check and see that we are actually able to use this common cash approach in Uganda? One of them, of course, is the ease of implementation. If it's too complicated, it's difficult, it's hard to access the data, then it will not work for us. If it is an approach that promotes joint efforts, so that before you do a needs assessment, you probably want to ask, do we have already this needs assessment in the settlements? Do we need to do a different one? Yeah? We want to have an approach that considers user preferences. And I think I'm already preempting the next presentation, which is also going to look into what are some of the identified user preferences in Uganda. It's going to be one of the success factors that we're looking at is also an inclusive approach that enables financial service providers to understand and appreciate the opportunities and challenges of working with the refugee communities in Uganda. And that's very, very key for us. And we're also looking at an approach that puts in place appropriate control measures in place for accountability. We don't want to fall into the loopholes of data sharing, and we know that's really a big concern right now. We want want to be able to report easily to our donors. And lastly, we want a cost-efficient fee approach. We want an approach that is easy, not only to the organizations, but also to the vulnerable communities that we serve. So, going back to the questions that I sampled, I think we have been able to see that a common cash approach would be possible if we work together. The challenges that you had mentioned, that some platforms are not available in some areas, are key things that are going to come out of the presentations that are going to come after me. One of the key challenges that was mentioned is if mobile money is taken, then some refugees don't have SIM cards. Some do not have access to phones. I don't even need to explain further this, because that's really the key theme of the workshop that we have today. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, allow us to welcome the keynotes of today, which is the presentation by Rich and Yulan. That is going to be, first of all, the presentation on user preferences that is going to be done by Aleta Bola. In order for us to do this, the Cash Working Group is extremely happy to have worked with Rich on this particular study, and I'm sure that you will have a lot of questions to that. Just before I welcome Aleta, if you have any particular questions, you have the small notes on your table, so you can use that to write questions, and someone will pick the questions. We will answer those questions at the end of the session. So let's do a good clap for the next presenter. That clap is to welcome you, Aleta, and also to officially launch the research that you have done on behalf of the actors of the Cash Working Group. Thank you very much, and I wish you a good listening.